welcome to a new episode of Records Near Me, a podcast for music lovers. This episode will be visiting a record store in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware called Extended Play. Located at 149 Rehoboth Avenue in Suite 8B, Extended Play is right on the beach town's busiest street, but you kind of have to know what you're looking for to find the place. It's in a kind of alley hidden among other shops. I only knew I was in the right place when I saw the big yellow 45 adapter on the wall outside. It's a symbol that any record collector will recognize. But that's how they want it. Their other store, Gadgets Retro Emporium, also sells records, among many other various items, and gets a lot more foot traffic, as it's hard to miss. Gadgets has been around much longer than Extended Play, and caters more towards the crowds of beachgoers wandering into random shops looking for souvenirs. Extended Play opened in 2018 as a place for record collectors, hidden from the overwhelming swarms of tourists. And later you'll hear me talk with manager Jackson Beckner and owner Steve Fallon, who also used to own the legendary music club in Hoboken, New Jersey called Maxwell's. New York Magazine voted Maxwell's as the best club in New York, even though it's in New Jersey. Many bands have recorded live albums there, from The Replacements to My Chemical Romance, and parts of Bruce Springsteen's Glory Days music video were filmed there. And many more famous groups played at Maxwell's, including Nirvana, Fugazi, and The Strokes. Retiring from the live music scene is what allowed Steve Fallon to open a record store. So, without further ado, let's hear from him and his manager, Jackson Beckner. Records near me, let's go and see what lies behind a record store's mind. If you're lost, get found. Take in the sound. It's the place to go when you're feeling low. So, if you don't mind, I'll share what we find. I'll make a podcast, so all this will last. If you're lost, get found. Take in the sound. It's the place to go. So let's start the show. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Records Near Me. Today I'm joined by owner Steve Fallon and manager Jackson Beckner of Extended Play, right here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Butcher that. Right here in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Alright, so tell me guys, what is one of your first memories of music?
I guess the first really strong, memorable concert that I was at the Doors concert at the Felt Forum when there was a riot. And so, like, that was it. Which also, I think that was where they recorded Celebration for a Lizard. And so, but I was like 14 at the time. So I was going to shows really young. So, but I'm an old man now, so that's really far away. But
now you're standing at the back of the venue.
Right,
now.
yeah. And then, of course, then just doing all the shows at Maxwell's, because I used to own a club called Maxwell. So,
yeah. I'm definitely going to get to that.
Yeah, get to that later.
Yeah,
oh no, that's another interview now.
Yeah, exactly.
So Extended Play has been open since 2018, right?
Yes, 2018.
Yep.
And this is your second location, right?
Yeah, we moved just recently to a larger location in November, end of November. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, but before that, so you also own Gadgets, right?
Right.
Down the street. So that also sells records.
Yeah, we've been selling records there. Probably the way that started was that I kind of sort of, because I owned Maxwell's, and I used to have tons of records that I would get from music pools and DJ pools and all that stuff. And so I had probably a large part of my collection under my pool table in the basement, and saying, I'm going to transfer these one day, and never got to it. So I started bringing my records into the back room of Gadgets, probably about 10 years ago now. It's probably longer, yeah. And so that's how it was. And that even though one of my feelings about trying to give up my records was, that the emotional attachment was really tough. But then when I saw a 12 or 13-year-old pick up, like a Fugazi record or even a Beach with the Choose record and say, like, wow, like this is the first ice cream cone I ever was going to eat. It was okay. I realized that it was going to a good place. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where Gadgets started, and then it just started growing, and every year it probably grew 2 or 3 times, and this last year it probably grew like 3 times.
Yeah.
What it used to be.
Yeah.
We did so much business on Record Store Day that our merchant servers cut us off.
Wow.
They actually want us to explain why we're
Yeah,
making
why
so
we're
much
making so much money.
why you're making so much money,
Really?
which was really like a really good problem. At first, the first email was I thought like this is a joke, they don't really want this, and then they were like, and then I realized they weren't putting the money in the bank. I'm like, oh, they did cut us off.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, so we had to send invoices, bank statements, and proof of the advertisements of the record store day.
Wow, that's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. I haven't
Yeah.
heard that yet.
I know it was pretty amazing. It was kind of here too, because it was kind of like the perfect storm. It's usually in April, and we're a resort town that grows from probably like maybe
Yeah,
fi-
we were making more money in June, July.
July anyway. But it was like we go from being like 1,500 people a day to 25,000 people a day. So it's grown, in a pretty normal pace over the years. But ever since we moved to why we opened the smaller extended play was because a friend of mine had died, and his brother called me up and said, hey, I got this really great, collection of my brother's. I don't know what to do with it. So I went up to New York and Brooklyn and looked at it, and I really kind of honestly said, I don't think we could sell this because it's too high end. But he really...
It was an amazing collection.
and he really wanted us to take it because his brother loved Maxwell's and had history, and he was being offered dumb money from people, and I was just like, well, you can't take that money because there's too little. Anyway, so I had vertigo at the time, and I had to walk up 5 flights of stairs carrying therapies. By the end, I was crawling up the stairs. Anyway, we basically opened that store for his record collection.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, it was
that
big.
good.
It was that
It
big.
was that big and that good.
I think it was. You started selling it 8 Gidgets.
Right.
And then I was gone. I was finishing up my college in France, study abroad, and I came back and I was working.
Right.
I was working at Gidgets, and I'd been home for 2 weeks, and Steve comes in the store. He's like, "Hey, you want to open a record store?"
A real record store.
Yeah, a real
right.
record store. And I was supposed to go back to my job at Starbucks.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, and I was like, you know what? This
No,
is
he's in.
the only opportunity I'm gonna get to do this, so I have to do this.
Right.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so then people, by selling that, other people that I knew from the music business and stuff like that kind of started contacting us. And even now, we kind of almost have to tell people, no, we don't want your record collection, almost in a way, because we get too many people bringing us
Yeah,
up.
especially with the move. I think
Yeah.
they ran a feature in the paper when we moved. and
Right.
Now I get it must be, once or twice a week people are bringing me a carload of records.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is
right.
again, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was that line that store was separated from Gidgets because we really wanted people only who understood what that was. Because a lot of people going, my God, why is this record, $300? Like going, because it is. That's what it costs.
Yeah.
And so the people who got it. But I learned that through retail a long time ago. The people who understand what it is will buy it. The people who do not will never understand it, and it's okay. You can be cranky and mad and go home and say that guy's charging. And that was a lot of times some of the negative reviews of it. They're charging way too much for records. I'm going, you don't even know what you're looking at.
Yeah. Well, that's what I always say. People say, why are your records so expensive? I say, there are expensive records,
Right.
and we have some of them.
Right.
But
We also have inexpensive
Yeah.
records.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then
Even on the dollar section.
Yeah.
So.
dollar.
Yeah,
exactly.
we have plenty
right.
of dollar stuff.
I mean,
Point 'em in the.
right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
You take it home and clean it, and hopefully that it doesn't skip.
Yeah.
So, Steve, you've mentioned it a couple of times. You used to own Maxwell. Do you miss the live music business?
So there was a moment of time where I almost bought back Maxwell's and went back, and I was getting lured back in by some guy that wanted to do streaming, and life's like kind of a couch potato kind of thing for people who had grown out of the music business of being able. Because in all reality, most 40 or to 60-year-old people who were hanging around the music scene at that time, they're if they have wives and children, they're not going out every weekend. They get to choose twice a year. So anyway, so we were going to do the streaming thing, and then also money was being thrown at us by the Arts Council of New Jersey and Hoboken, and because they wanted to make it a landmark and all that stuff, and it was really appealing to me for a minute. Anyway, and so then I went back and I said, you know what? I'll put all my energy into this, and so it's more of, it's not the same thing, but it definitely is a more logical thing for someone that's 67 years old.
Okay.
And that's because the whole thing about running a club is like it's 24/7. It really
Yeah.
is. I lived above Maxwell's.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I mean there would be times where I would cross the street to go get to the convenience store and go like, wow, I didn't cross the street in 2 months.
Wow.
So that's how much it was just like rolling from the apartment down to downstairs. And rolling was the true word sometimes.
So, can I have you guys talk about your best live music experience? I know you already mentioned
Yeah.
the Doors,
Right.
which is amazing.
Best live music experience. The best concert that I've been to would probably be I saw Neutral Milk Hotel at the Queen in Wilmington, and that was a really good show. Just the vibe of everyone being in that room was like everyone was there to see that band. It was like the only show that I've ever been to where everyone was just completely quiet between songs. Like a song ended and just everyone waited for the next song. It was really a cool thing to be in. And also their opening act was the Dot Wiggin band, and Dot Wiggin played in a band called the Shags, which is probably the strangest band that's ever been a band.
Okay.
But it was the first time I've ever heard Shags songs, and to hear those songs played live
Right.
was a very interesting experience.
I think the Shags played Maxwell.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah.
And it was just like it must have been half of the venue left, but I was just like, man, this is crazy, because like knowing how being a musician and knowing how the songs are just like not structured like anything you've ever heard before, and to be like, wow, I know these people are really good and they're playing in a way that's not really good, and that's like really hard to do. So that was really cool. And also just like when I was in high school and stuff like that, and we were all playing in local bands and just like setting up shows, renting out VFW halls and churches and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Just the whole like trying to scrounge together money and stuff like that. It was fun though. It was a good time. It was a good way to spend the high school years.
Okay, let me see. I'm gonna give you 3.
Awesome.
Because it's hard to kind of pick. But so when I was probably like 17, 18, I was really into bluegrass music for some reason or other. And there was a really great festival every year in Union Grove, North Carolina. Unfortunately, the pagans destroyed it and killed somebody one year, and they just never had it. And it was a deal where you'd pay like $15 to get in, and you'd get your money back if you performed. So there was not a schedule, or there was not any artist, roster. But it was like every bluegrass guy in the whole world would go there, and like
Wow.
you'd be like next to there was no like seniority or like what they call it, glamming or anything like that. It was just like you pull in and the spot there was empty. That's where you put your car and your tent, and and Buck Owens would be next to you. I mean, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. And so whoever you'd have to go up and register for to perform, and there were some really bad performers. But when you perform, you got your money back, and so that's how they paid artists of sorts. So that was really cool. But then it all of course it happened that someone got killed and it never happened again. But through that, and then
The tragic end.
the tragic end. I
Yeah,
know.
what a
It was so weird. It was just like, oh my God, what are these crazy
At the Bluegrass
motorcycle?
Festival.
At the Bluegrass, what's this
Yeah.
motorcycle gang here? Anyway, then there was I was one of the 20,000 people who bought tickets to Woodstock. I went to Woodstock with my 2 brothers. I was only 13 at the time, and that was quite an experience. I was only there for the Saturday and maybe a little bit of the Sunday thing until it was just like, okay, enough mud and water, and we're going home. But the overall experience, like best experience, is it's the entirety of Maxwell's. I mean, I saw so many great acts, just like going, holy shit. I mean, the first time you saw REM, you just knew like, this band's gonna be huge. You knew it was gonna be, and then there was Pylon, the Method. I mean, there were so many bands, and we had a real good conduit of all the Northeast stuff. And then it started getting bigger, and and then we had the first Soft Boys concert in America, and Nirvana's first East Coast concert. So concert's kind of a big word, because we were like this 200 seat room, which really probably should have been 100 people, but it all depended on girth. But and so there was just so many experiences there that were just like, I was really fortunate to live that. So,
Wow. Yeah.
so so it wasn't one thing. It was
It was many
things. And maybe some drugs involved. But, but anyway, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, so Steve, you own the store, but Jackson, you
He runs it.
run it.
Mhm.
Okay, that's exactly where I was going.
There you go.
So what does your everyday look like? What do you do exactly?
I mean, there's not really an every day. I mean, every day I get in there, and we do a lot of online stuff. So I mean, every day I get in and I check online orders and I pack stuff up. That happens every day. But most of the time I'll just get in there and see what kind of used stuff I have. I mean, I have a backlog that I'll never be able to actually get through, but that's fine. So I just chip my way through and just start pricing records, looking them up, cleaning them, getting them in the system, packaged out.
He does a lot of work.
Yeah,
He does a real lot of work.
Yeah.
And
there's orders.
he's very thorough.
There's like new record orders to do, to take in, to put on the shelf, and you gotta handle people coming in with records. You gotta handle people calling you, wanting you to come out with records because they can't move them themselves. It's
And there's a real thin line between a record being worth a lot of money or the
Yeah.
edition,
Well,
the
yeah, and
label.
it's like-
He knows all that, and
Yeah.
I'd be like, kind of like, well,
Well, what I've learned is that there's nothing like if someone's offering to show you some records, you should probably take a look because
Right.
you really have no idea,
No idea,
what
right.
it could be.
Yeah.
that's true.
Because even if they have 200 records that are going to go in my dollar bin, maybe they have one record that's worth a ton of money, or even if it's not worth a ton of money, it's really cool, and I would like to have it up on the wall
Right.
for someone to see and think the store is pretty cool. So it's all about trying to manage the time that I'm there, and even the time that I'm not in the store, to figure out how I can get the stuff that's coming into the store, how I can get it into my hands to be able to take a thorough look at it. And we do events and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot of work. But it's fun.
And he's consistent. Which is
It's
good.
fun.
That's a key with any business is consistency and And then there was all actually when we first did the extended play small version, I wanted just to paint it white, and everyone's like, "Why white?" And I'm like, "Because it's clean, it's pure,
Yeah.
It's like, and that other things." And then so many people have commented about it, going,
Yeah.
"This
I
white
love the
really
white, it
works."
looks great.
And then even in the bigger store, you thought it would get kind of lost, but it's like, but you're featuring that record.
Yeah.
You don't need distractions, and that was kind of the thing with Maxwell, as we learned years ago, that it was kind of, the club was kind of designed after more like the European clubs, where it's like, this is the space. There's no great light show. There isn't like fancy artwork on the wall or other things that it's like this band is presenting you their music in this room,
Mhm.
and that's what it.
You don't want it to get distracted.
Right. Like
Right?
distractions.
You're doing
right.
one thing, and you want people to know that you're doing
Right.
this thing.
Right, and the same thing with the store.
Yeah.
Like this is who we are.
Yep.
And if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, bye.
Yeah.
There is cotton candy up that way.
Yeah. At the end of it, we move into a bigger store.
Right.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. During the pandemic, we saw the space that was the beef jerky. That was a beef jerky store, and because Jackson and I decided we were going to start looking outside, maybe on the highway, so people
Route
could
1,
have
yeah.
Better
Parking
The
and
parking
stuff.
here sucks, but in the off season it's free, and so it's not that bad. But so we were thinking about going in there, and similar to how I found the
Yeah.
small space, I went by it and go, oh, there's a phone number there.
Yeah.
And so I had him call it in kind of incognito. We went and looked at it. It turned out we knew the woman, and they gave us a really great rent. I mean,
Mhm.
like $100 more than we were paying for that tiny store.
Yeah. And
So-
the new store is like
Four times.
four
Yeah,
times.
well,
as
yeah,
big?
it's like 1,000
Three,
square
four
feet. We
times.
were 300 square feet, which probably only 250 square feet was usable.
Yeah.
In the other store.
Yeah.
So it was almost, it's at least easily 3 times, maybe 4 times the size.
Mhm.
So yeah. And it's actually in an area now where it kind of edits out the really commercial resort thing.
Because
So-
we're not on the avenue right now.
And people were thinking like, well, don't you want to be on the avenue? And I'm like going, well, kind of not with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like we couldn't set, like at Gadgets, if we put out a turntable, it would be broken like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
I mean, people
Yeah.
going, so it was just, we'd have too much of a volume of music. I mean, of crowd. So,
Yeah. You just have that big 45 adapter sign on the side. So
Yeah, we don't
you
even
know,
have a sign.
Yeah,
I spotted it.
yeah.
Right.
So you
We don't
see
even have a
that and you
sign.
know what it is. Come on in. If you don't,
Right, right.
yeah, that's fine.
We don't
too.
sell
Yeah,
pizza.
I was looking around, I saw, I knew exactly where to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It's like a little secret code we got.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we're snobs.
Yeah, well.
We're record
Yeah,
snobs.
well,
Somewhat.
we're nice ones though.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So before I end this,
Sure.
is there anything that you guys want to say to somebody maybe coming into the store for the first time? Or
Get out. No.
Alright.
We're here. We would love for people to come in.
Yeah.
Check us out.
And it's all about
I think we do we do what we do, and I think that we do something a little bit different than a normal record store.
Right.
But I think it's a cool thing. I think that it's like the way that records are going. I
Right.
mean, we're funky.
Yeah, we're funky.
We're cool. We're trying to have fun.
And
We love music.
We love
We
music.
want to share it.
Yep. And we try to guide people as far like Yellow Tango. Like I've been asking them because I put out their first 3 records on Coyote, and so that we've been trying to get them down here for a long time. And finally, that Dogfish and there's where a result of the pandemic is not just a bad thing because Yellow Tango just decided to play in smaller places because they didn't want to have big crowds.
Yeah.
So we lucked out that way. So yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. we might
Come
try-
in.
Come in.
Get out.
Get out.
Come in.
Come in,
Get
get
out.
out.
Get in. Get out.
Yeah. We might try to get some people, do in stores later.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, we're trying to start do that, and then we might start. Someone gave us a PA because I mentioned it, and we're
Yeah.
gonna, and then someone's gonna start helping us stream that. So
Yeah. So.
Cool.
So
yeah,
watch out
we can
for
only
that.
Fit,
Watch out for
we
that.
can only fit maybe 30 people in the
Right.
store at most, but we'll
Right.
try to set up some cameras, stream it online.
kind of have to be very low key, but on a small audience scale, and
Yeah.
then streaming it.
Yeah.
Alright, that's all for today, folks. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you liked this episode, and make sure to like or follow Records Near Me on your favorite listening platform. And be sure to share it with any music lovers. Until next time. And for those of you wondering how an amateur like me can randomly decide to make a podcast, I've been using Anchor by Spotify. It's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, everywhere. And it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Best of all though, Anchor is totally free. So if you want to make a podcast like me, just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.